Four, three, two, one. What's up? Welcome to another live episode of Guns and Guitars. I am very excited about this episode for a lot of reasons, all of which I will go through. But first, I need to point something out. I see Jesse, Howard, and David Cap are the first two people in the comments. And then right after that, the butterfly effect mentions that Jesse and David are father and son, which is just the funniest reference. It's a Bible reference. David, King David, son of Jesse, and just hilarious. It's so much more funnier than you guys will ever appreciate, just because Jesse and David, man, they are two of my most dedicated members of my community. They're like at every live stream and super cool people. I love my interactions with them. But just the fact that they were both here first and then the butterfly effect called them out as father and son, it just really tickled my funny bone. So I had to point that out real quick. You'll notice my background is a lot different than it's been lately. That's because really good news, guys. We are finally moved in to our new house that we've been building over the last year. I appreciate all of your guys' prayers, especially your prayers for our well, which we have plenty of water. And so, excuse me. So that was really awesome that you guys all prayed, and the Lord definitely came through for us on that. So very excited that I'm here in this house. I would say that we're about 3/4 of the way moved in, and that's mostly just because I haven't moved my workshops over yet because I still need to set up my sheds and stuff. I've got some videos coming up kind of discussing what's going on with all of that. So my workshop is still across town. I have to commute to it. And as a result, actually, I left a lot of gear at home. So or not at home. This is my home now. I left a lot of gear that I would normally use for live streams over in my workshop. And so, but I gotta just say, I mean, look at how good this looks. I mean, the lighting in this bedroom is just beautiful. This is just natural lighting. I don't have a single light turned on, just beautifully diffused. It's gonna make it really awesome for filming product reviews and stuff, as well as these live streams. So I really am super excited for this room, this house. Obviously, we don't have a lot of furniture or anything hanging on the walls yet. That's gonna come in the future. The next thing that I'm excited about, well, firstly, I want to mention Mrs. Guns is not in the comment. So Big Kahuna said hi to Mrs. Guns, and she's not here. So did Andrew McClure. And so did Michael. So appreciate you guys saying hi to her, but she's actually in the kitchen baking cupcakes for my son's birthday tomorrow. So she is not moderating comments, but I do have my computer set up so I can see the chat. Hopefully I will be able to see if you guys are asking any questions about this stuff. But the second reason why I'm super excited is I'm testing out a new piece of live streaming gear, and you can see it right here. It looks like a microphone, but it's not just a microphone. It's also an audio interface. So I'm going to be able to demo this last, basically the last 3 bases on this round of custom orders are finally finished. And I'm going to give you guys a showcase and just kind of talk about them and demo them for you. And I'm really excited because I'm going to be able to do a higher quality live stream demo than I've ever been able to do. So essentially what's going on here is I have this is the iRig Stream Mic Pro, and it's actually not the one that I wanted. I actually ordered the wrong one on accident. But this one has a built-in mic. And so that's what you're hearing me through right now is just the mic. You can see if I get closer, the audio quality gets much better, but that's not very practical for gear demos. So it's gonna have to, you guys are gonna have to deal with it being this far away from me proximity wise. But then I have a cable going into it that is running out of my recording interface. So I'm set up with my recording interface going into Logic Pro as I would normally do for all of my gear demos. And I just realized that this instrument cable is unplugged, so I apologize if you guys were hearing some sort of background hum or something, and I apologize again if you just heard like a pop as I plugged it in. So sorry, I should have had that set up. Anyway, so I have that set up, and so all the settings that I typically use for my like produced gear demos, I'm able to use live, which is amazing. So I've got some subtle EQ, some subtle compression, maybe a limiter or something like that. And it's just, this is just default settings for basically where my starting point for any bass that I'm reviewing. If it doesn't sound good with these settings, then it's not a good sounding bass. Obviously, each one of these basses have a different pickup setup, and so they're all going to sound a little bit different. And if I was gigging one of these basses, I would tweak the settings, you know, for each bass individually. But for the sake of this demo, you just get to hear them all through just a generic preset that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and, sorry guys, put in my headphones so I can hear what you guys are hearing. And the last reason why I am very excited for the live stream today is because I get to demo for you the last 3 bases on this round of pre-orders. Now, this round of pre-orders took me way longer than I expected. The first round took me way longer than I expected. I think just building bases in general takes me way longer than I expect. And I was a bit ambitious. I took 9 bases on this last round of pre-orders. It was originally supposed to be 7. And then I wanted to build one for myself, so that made 8. And then one person was trying their best to get into the round of pre-orders, and they were having issues with their payment setup. Not because there's an issue with funds or anything, but just their payment wasn't going through for whatever reason. And then somebody else snuck in and swiped their order, and I felt really bad. So I ended up taking a 9th so that they could get in on it. And I actually think... No, it's not this one. It's one of the other bases. Actually belongs to that guy. So 9 bases. It took me 9 months. So it looks like I average about a base a month, which is pretty slow. But I don't anticipate it getting any faster. So before I talk about this base, I'm just going to browse through your guys' comments real quick and see if there's any questions. Most of you guys are just saying hi. It's going to be a fun party tomorrow with a kiddo. What up, says Jesse. Thank you. Mike sounds good here. Thanks, Stupid Monkey 007. Oh, I probably should have read that in my head before I said it out loud. Yes, dude, stoked to see our bases. Oh, that's Tony. Yeah, Tony. I think, yeah, Tony is he's that guy that I was telling you about. And Mike Maresca. Oh, sweet. He's you're gonna get to see your base here too. All right. Yeah. Oh, I'm excited that you guys get to hear your own bases live. Feel free to ask questions. I'll try to keep an eye on the chat as I'm demoing these. Just got a little bit of a cherry flavored bubbly water here. And so this one is for a client who requested, they're an active member of the Bass Buzz forums. Those of you guys don't know, Bass Buzz is a really popular bass teaching website. So lots of video content and stuff like that. And then forums for just helping people, iron sharpens iron, people encouraging each other to get better at playing bass. And so really cool website. And so he wanted a Bass Buzz themed bass. So he chose the colors of the website, which are like a burnt orange and black. And so we engraved the Bass Buzz logo on it. I gave that to him as a free upgrade because this round of pre-orders took way longer than it should have. The bass is made out of Siberian elm, same wood that my personal bass is made out of. I love this wood because nobody else does, and it's beautiful. And as far as I know, I'm the only person making instruments out of it. It is a great hardwood. Most people don't use it for construction because the grain is so crazy and twisty. I think maybe you guys can maybe see it a little bit on camera. And so it's not very, you can't make 2x4 studs out of it because the grain is so crazy. But it just makes for really, really cool basses. And it's a very nice hardwood, very good weight. I love making instruments out of it. So perfect. This person requested a PJJ setup, and my custom shop, they just make the best sounding pickups. And so the P is my particular flavor. I worked really hard on the P pickups and the J pickups that I use in my basses. We went through a million prototypes, it seems like. And then the double J is actually not my flavor. It's the guy who winds them. It's his flavor, but he doesn't sell them on his website. Epic Custom Shop is the custom shop that makes my pickups. And these are not for sale on his website. He just makes them special for me, but they're his own recipe. And they also sound killer. And so we'll just go ahead and jump straight into the sound demo here. The controls, we got our volume, tone, and then because we have the double J humbucker, I have a North Series South switch for that. And then the first switch is my standard Dano Sound series parallel. And then because normally right here is my stereo split switch, that's right here on a push-pull pot because I didn't want to, I feel like it looks a little too crowded when I do 3 switches. So I just did 2 switches and a push-pull. And so that gives you all the Dano Sound tones as well as North Series South on the humbucker. So let's just go ahead and noodle around a bit on it. Right now we just got everything just stock factory all on. And of course my recording software went to sleep. Good job. Okay, let's try now. There you go. Cool, right? So awesome. We'll roll off a little bit of the bridge. So this is like your just standard P bass tone. Right? So yeah, creamy, awesome P bass tone. I love the sound of that pickup. Roll off the neck a little bit. All right, so obviously a much tighter but still very thick bass out of that bridge pickup. That's why I could play a little more busy, because it's not muddy, it's really tight bass. And then, together they just blend beautifully. So if I kick it into the north, that's your 60s jazz bass position. So we got like a 60s PJ sort of tone. Right, so that's like kind of like a scooped mids. And then if I go to the south coil, that's your 70s jazz bass tone. So it kind of shifts the mid frequency a little bit. Kind of brightens it up a little bit. So 60s. So you can definitely hear the difference there. And then obviously when you're doing the full humbucker, right? So that's like a sort of a mid boost, really great tone. And then of course all those settings, and you can run them in series, right? So yeah, got the series parallel, and then I don't have it set up to run stereo right now. That's actually something I should have done, but all that equipment's back in my workshop, so I couldn't do that. But I could have plugged in my TRS cable, and I could have, because this whole audio interface is a stereo setup, so I could have panned the neck and bridge pickup and kind of shown you all the options of when you stereo biamp your pickups. That would have been really cool. All right, so I'm just going to run through and see if we have any other questions real quick before we do the next one. All right. Love the color on that one. Was the engraving laser cut? Yes, Laramie, it was. The engraving was done with the laser. I could never engrave it that accurately. Love CNC lasers, they're great. All right, random question. Will the Purple Beast build resume shortly with the pre-orders complete? Big Kahuna, yeah, that's a really great question. So the Purple community build, that is on pause because of the issue with my workshop being across town. I told you guys in my video about how like my content is changing and adapting. I was gonna be doing a lot more live streams, and then I haven't done a live stream since. And that's because I'm in transition. So if you weren't here at the very beginning, I was talking about how I'm filming in my new house right now, which is awesome. We just moved in, but my workshop is still across town. I'm gonna be hopefully getting my workshop set up this week, and then the live stream community builds will resume, and I'm actually going to be starting new ones as soon as that one's over as well. So great question. Seriously sexy basses, thank you, appreciate that. Sounds fantastic. Sounds great on my Sennheisers. Awesome, glad that you guys are loving this. Is Tony's asking, is this big a bead? I don't know what that is. I think you're asking, is this bead tuning? No, this is standard tuning on this one. What wood on that again? This is Siberian elm. So yes, this is locally sustainably harvested tree that was probably in someone's yard. Siberian elm is an invasive species, and so they probably had it removed. That, or maybe for fire wising or something like that to save the forest. So yeah, okay. Active pickups on this setup? Nope, completely passive pickups. I don't do active pickups anymore. Just because I got tired of dealing with having to put in extra battery compartments, as well as I believe if you're going to have a bass with active electronics, you also need the ability to still use it if the battery dies. So I usually end up using passive pickups anyway with an active preamp, and then adding an active passive bypass switch in case the battery dies. And so as a result, it's kind of a lot of extra work. And then I just realized that, my custom shop makes the best sounding pickups, and they don't need a preamp. They really don't. And so I've gone to just a completely passive setup, which is really cool. Oh, some slap sounds. Great idea. Jared, we'll go ahead and do that. So, but I've gone to a completely passive setup. It's just simpler, and with my different wiring options, you still get a huge tonal range. But yeah, let's go ahead and do some slapping. Let's see. Yeah, some sick. Yeah. Yes, and then yeah, somebody says it was a Long Dong Bong Chong says use an outboard preamp. Couldn't agree more. That's the other thing is when I was installing these active preamps in a bass, that's the only instrument that I could use the active preamp. Versus I actually took some active preamps out of basses and put them in pedal enclosures, and then I was able to use them on every bass I owned. And I was like, why haven't I been doing this all along? Just makes total sense. All right. So, oh yeah, everyone likes the growl. Yeah, this bass is beautiful. So yes, I think the client is really gonna love it. Forgive me if this pops your ears. Oh, it wasn't too bad. It didn't pop in my ears anyway. Let me switch out to another bass real quick. All right. In the continued orange bass theme, we have this one that was I believe this belongs to Tony, and so he's here in the chat. So I think he's probably pretty excited about this. This is made out of sisu or Indian rosewood. Again, locally sustainably harvested. Those stabilized cracks in there are proof of that. that's what you get when you use locally sustainably harvested. It's not perfect, but I think that makes it more character. And so I stabilize the cracks, and I just think it looks awesome. And so this one actually has the now coveted and no longer available quad coil bass pickups. It's the only other bass that I've built besides my own that has the quad coil pickups. The reason why is because shortly after I uploaded that video and I listed them for sale on my website, I sold 2 sets, just individual sets, and I sold one Behemoth because I opened my round of pre-orders shortly after that video that had quad coil pickups. And then after that, I got a cease and desist letter from somebody who owns a patent on quad coil bass pickups. So I don't know how like Nordstrand and Bartolini and stuff are able to do that around his patent. They must either pay him or they just have better lawyers than I do. I don't have any lawyer, right? So I got a cease and desist letter, and so that's what I did. I ceased and desisted. So there's no more of these quad coils. So this is the last instance. So Tony's lucky that he got that. He also wanted a laser engraving. I gave this to him again as a free upgrade because he's been so patient waiting for this bass. And it's sweet. It's a clock and a compass in honor of his grandfather. And then with an inscription that says, "Not all those who wander are lost." And that's actually in reference in this instance to improvisation. So improvising bass licks and stuff may seem like you're wandering the fretboard, but it doesn't mean that you're lost. Something cool you guys might notice, I don't know if you can tell, I'll pull the strings aside so you can see, there's a lot of fret dot markers on this neck. So this is something, again, that he requested. And he wanted, and I think it's just stylistically, I don't think that functionally it's really necessary at all, but I think he just thinks it really looks cool, is there are extra fret dots on here wherever there is a natural note. So if it's a sharp or a flat, no dot. But if it's natural, then it gets a dot. And really funny story about this bass is that my phone crashed, I don't know, a couple months ago, got stuck in an infinite loop where it was crashing every 20 minutes and I couldn't back up all my data. It just, my phone wouldn't run a backup before it would crash. And so I lost actually my original notes from all the custom builds. And so I was just kind of going through and digging through all the emails and the correspondence that I had with all the people trying to recompile my notes of what I had. And I forgot that he requested bead tuning, B-E-A-D. That's actually my favorite tuning to play in. So it's basically the top 4 strings of a 5-string bass. So we got a low B. Yeah. E, A, D, and then we sacrifice the high G for that low B. And the funny thing is I remember, or we were talking about doing the natural note markers. So I laid out a neck and I drilled and I installed all the dots. And then I showed him a picture of it and he's like, yeah, that's great. But that's for standard tuning and I wanted bead tuning. So completely my fault. And so I dug out another neck and and redid it with the dots in the right spot. So anyway, just going to give you a quick sound demo of these. Again, just keep in mind that these quad coil pickups are not available, so I apologize if you're hoping to get it on the next round of pre-orders. It's not possible. So, but yeah, so here we are just, just all the pickups normal, all the volumes up in series. And then I'm actually going to boost. I think I might need to adjust the pickup height a little bit because it seems like maybe the output on this bass is a little bit lower than the last one. Sounds really good though. So north coil. You know what it also is? I have this bass set up with a wicked low action because again, that was Tony's request, is he really wanted a just like wicked low action on this, way lower than I would normally play, but as a result I can't like dig in the way I normally would, or else it will buzz a bit. I keep seeing these other dots out of the corner of my eye and they keep throwing me off. So if you hear a little bit of fret buzz, that's why. This thing is like wicked low. And I actually tried a new technique where I not only did a 12th fret taper, but I did a 15th fret taper, 17th fret taper as well, just so that I could get it ultra low on the frets. And he also requested he wanted slinkier strings and in bead tuning. So these are all things that are working against having a really low action. But we were able to do it. So I'm really stoked actually with how well this plays considering all the roadblocks. But that's why the output is really low, is I just can't dig in as much. That's anyway, so we'll just go ahead and roll off the bridge pickup. Yeah, I love bead tuning. So if I play that, so and then we'll go ahead and do the roll off to the bridge pickup. Gosh, that is such a thick sounding bridge pickup. Man, I wish I could make more of these pickups. That'd be sweet. Sorry, guys. So, and then obviously, if you guys have seen my quad coil demo video, then you know that you can do P bass, reverse P bass, north series, south, and then series and parallel. Oh no, I don't have enough knobs and switches in here. So these are each for doing your coil swap for your P pickup. And then this last one is a stereo split. Actually, couldn't add this series and parallel option for both pickups together. I think when I was drawing out the diagram, I couldn't figure out how to make it work. But there's only like 65 other options, so it's totally fine. And I think with two humbucker pickups, I don't think you would actually want to run them both in series anyway. I think it would be just a little too muddy probably. So, all right, what are you guys thinking about this one? All right, cool idea for the fret dots. Yeah, I agree. I think it looks super cool. Other than if I'm looking at it like this, I get really confused because the dots aren't where I'm used to seeing them. But as long as I'm looking at it straight on, it's great. And then what else? What's your preferred string, says Jared. I've answered this question a couple times before. I'll try to answer it really quick. My favorite strings are Guitar Authority. Told you guys that before, and I'm going to be doing more videos on Guitar Authority strings coming up, but they are not cheap. My favorite, I would say the best value string is Fender bass strings, which is what this is strung up with. This is Fender Super 7250s, I believe, and it's like a medium light gauge 5-string set, but of course dropped the high G string. And so those are what I used to put on all of my basses, and then I got mad at people when I would ship them a brand new bass, and the first thing they would do is take the strings off and throw them in the garbage and put on their favorite set of strings. And so I got tired of putting nice strings on basses. And so then I've started using ChromaCast typically, and so the first bass that I demoed is ChromaCast bass strings, and the next bass that I'm demoing is ChromaCast bass strings. And I feel like they are hands down the best value. I like Fender's tone just a little bit better. And I feel like Fender's tone lasts a little bit longer, but the Chromacast bass strings are really inexpensive, which is very helpful for me as a builder, especially when most of my clients are going to be taking them off first thing anyway. I'm not offended. And then secondly, they do sound really good, especially when they're brand new. They sound really good. And so it's good enough to make that good first impression. I really want people to have a great unboxing experience. And so if they plug it in without replacing the strings, I want it to sound good. And so that's why I've been using Chromacast. All right. Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and move on to the last bass. Plug your ears. Oh, it doesn't pop. That's nice. Okay, grab the last bass here. All right, and this bass is really cool. I don't know if Mike Maresca is still here, but this bass belongs to him. So feel free to give him a congratulations, as I'm sure you already did for Tony. And so this bass here is made out of, again, all my bases are made out of locally sustainably harvested wood. This is black acacia, and it is absolutely gorgeous. And then he didn't want any engravings, no pick guard. And he's using just my standard jazz bass pickups, which are just the best sounding pickups. And so as his free upgrade for being patient, I offered to make him a handmade neck. So you can see this has my subtle multi-scale on it. That's a 33 3/4 scale on the high G string down to a 34.5 inch scale on the low E string. And then this is made out of flame maple with a matching, well, it's black walnut, but it sort of matches the acacia. But we decided to go with a matte gray finish on that flame maple. And I love this gray on brown color scheme. It's very unique. You don't see it very often. And I just think it looks so killer. And then the black hardware, I think is a really good touch. On my style of necks, I do a 0 fret, so there's no nut. And then this one actually is the first time that I've perfectly lined up the tuners so that I wouldn't actually even need a string retainer. And the break angle is a 10-degree break angle, which is just enough to break nicely over that 0 fret. And so it wouldn't actually even need that string retainer. The only reason why I put it there is because I actually learned with a 0 fret that you can, using a string retainer, adjust the action at the 0 fret based on how much you pinch down the strings beyond the 0 fret. So if I loosen this entirely, it would be an incredibly low action, just as it barely clears that 0 fret, but tightening it down, it actually raises it up a little bit. So that gives me the opportunity to really dial in the action as if there was a nut there, but it's still a 0 fret. And the benefit to a 0 fret is that your open strings sound the same as your fretted strings, and so you get consistent tone across the fingerboard. And so I'm really happy with how this neck turned out. I will say the neck is a little chunkier than I wanted, and I didn't realize that until I strung it up and started playing it. It's just too hard to tell when I was just holding it just at neck. It felt really good. And then I strung it up and I was like, especially going from those other basses that are using the import necks, those have a really, really slim profile, probably a little on the too slim side, if I'm being honest. They play amazing. But if I was building one, I probably wouldn't make them quite that slim. This one is just a tad too chunky. I don't know if you'd be able to see in the profile. So it's kind of more like a P bass profile instead of a jazz bass profile, except for it still has the jazz bass super narrow fretboard at the headstock, and then it widens up to a P bass profile at the 12th fret. That's the way I like to make them, but then I also like to make them thin like a jazz bass, and this one just didn't come out as thin. So that's enough talking. Let's see if there's any other questions real quick. Third bass color is beautiful. Would it be possible to get a bass with a Music Man profile neck? So Long Dong Bong Chong, that's your username, awesome. So all my basses moving forward are going to be my neck profile. I'm going to be hand making necks from here on out. Is a big issue that I had on this last round of pre-orders. One of the reasons why it got delayed so long is that the quality of the necks that I was getting was just junk, just absolute garbage. And I was just fighting with them to get replacements, and finally got enough replacements to do them all. But then, as you guys saw, I actually upgraded some people from the import necks to handmade necks just because I wanted more practice, and I'm in the prototyping phase. These are all prototypes, and so and I appreciated people being willing to be a guinea pig, I guess. And so I made some really great necks, way better necks than I would get if I ordered them, unless I was going to be paying top dollar. But if I pay top dollar, I might as well just build them myself. So to answer your question, will I be making them with a Music Man profile? No. I'm going to be making them with my profile. My profile is a slim jazz at the nut/0 fret with a P bass profile at the 12th fret. So a little bit extra strength and girth at the 12th fret, a little slim and faster playing up here. It is a C profile using a 7/8 roundover bit that slowly wides into a D profile as you go up. And then I've got my Settle multi-scale, which I think is just, I don't want to toot my own horn, but for lack of a better word, genius. It's just subtle enough to make a big difference in string tension. And string tension also affects tone. It's one of the reasons why the output on that the last bass was a little bit lower. We were using floppier strings. And you'll notice when I start playing this one, there's going to be like some bell-like, piano-like overtones in it. And so the scale length really affects the tone. And so I really, really like the multi-scale. I like the 0 fret. I like the adjustable action on using the string retainer. And so everything about my necks are exactly what I want in a bass. And since I'm the one building basses, I'm going to build them the way I want. So if that answers your question. All right. Jared asked if I'm going to offer neck through, probably in the future, but not right away. I need to get some CNC files made so that I don't do what I did with this one and accidentally make it too thick. And then I'll work on some CNC files for neck through, because my CNC machine is actually big enough to make neck through basses, which is why I got it. Love your designs. The neck sounds awesome. Am I still shooting for sub $1,000 on the instruments? Broseph, Behemoth, I regret to inform you that this last round of pre-orders actually wasn't able to do them for less than 1,000, just because of the cost of materials going up over the last year. And so this last round wasn't sub 1,000, and the next round it's going to go up because of me making my own necks is just more expensive. I keep looking at the computer as though you're right there. You're right there at the camera. Sorry. So I was aiming for sub 1,000, but I'm thinking, my basses, they're worth so much more than any other bass that factory bass that you can buy at the same price point. It's silly of me to undercut myself for no reason. I've actually sought some wise counsel about this. And so I've decided I'm going to raise my price on the next round of pre-orders, just because, the whole point of my channel is that you can build high-end instruments on a low-end budget. Skill trumps, money any day. But what does that say about my brand of custom instruments? If I'm saying, hey, you can build a $3,000 custom shop guitar for $500, what's that say about my custom line if I'm only charging $500 for my guitars? It probably tells people that my guitars aren't worth $3,000, right? And so it makes a lot of sense because they are. I don't want to sound arrogant, but I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into these, and they are amazing basses. There's a reason why my go-to gigging bass is my own bass that I built. And so, yeah. Average weight on this bass so far. So the weights on these are just a tad less than a standard jazz bass. Jazz bass weighs between 8 and 10 pounds. These usually come in on the 8-pound side of that. So 8.5. This one might be 9, just because, again, I made the neck a little chunky and Acacia's a little bit heavier. So this one might be 9 pounds. Definitely not the lightweight Polonia one that I built that was like 6.5 pounds. But yeah, so there are lightweight options if weight is a concern on the next round. So you'll be able to choose your wood. And if you want something like this, that's just beautiful and it's big and it's heavy, or it's not big, it's heavy and it just feels really durable, then excellent, you know. Or if you want something that's lighter weight, just, you know, if you play gigs standing on your feet all day, one of my original prototypes was made out of Polonia because of that. And so I really liked having a lightweight base. Sorry, this is way too much talking. We need to hear this bass so I can wrap up this live stream. Okay, so like I said, be listening for like the piano like overtones on this bass because of the multi-scale. All right, and so that's just both pickups together, roll off the bridge pickup. Yeah, so nice creamy neck pickup, bridge pickup. Right, and then both together again. Right. Oh, this pickup sounds so good. I love it. You notice that my jazz pickup placement is a little more forward than Fender's jazz pickup placement. The bridge is in the 60s jazz position as opposed to the 70s jazz, right up close to the bridge. And then I move the neck pickup a little more forward as well. Just makes it a little thicker and girthier, in my opinion. I'm a firm believer that bass players, we play bass. We don't play lead guitar. We don't play synth pad. We play bass. And so I like having that low in there. You can always, if you don't like it, you can always EQ it out. But I'd rather, it's way better to start with the frequencies and then subtract them if you don't want them than to try to generate frequencies that aren't there. So that's why my pickups are a little more forward, a little bit more girthy, and obviously still plenty bright, right? Right, so yeah, definitely not lacking any high end there. And then series. Kind of rolls off a little bit of the brightness in favor of a mid boost, right? Right, so yeah, super, oh man, I love this bass. All these basses, I'm gonna have a really hard time shipping off on Monday. But the good news is these were the last 3 on this round of pre-orders, which means I'm gonna be able to open up my next round soon. So if you guys are interested in ordering a custom bass, I'm going to be opening up the next round soon. So make sure you go to my website, gunsandguitars.net, sign up for the email list if you want to be notified as an early bird. Of course, Patreon supporters will actually be the first to know. So if you really want to know, feel free to support me on Patreon. I think you guys already know that. So, but I will say it's probably still going to be maybe another month before I open the round of pre-orders because I need to get my new workshops relocated and hooked up to power and set up with workbenches and everything and all organized before I start doing this. Otherwise, I'm just going to run the same issue that I've had with every round. It was where I just have unanticipated delays. And so I just want to make sure everything's set up and good to go. That way I don't delay it longer than I have to. So thank you guys for that incredibly long-winded live stream. And it seems like maybe this mic and audio interface is working out pretty good. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I am going to be wrapping up this live stream here soon, so let me know on the replay. I'm going to go back and read those comments. If the audio interface is sounding good, then we will keep using it. If not, we'll search for another solution. So thank you so much, you guys. Again, so good to hang out with you guys. Thank you for the good questions. Thank you for the awesome bass orders so I get to build something that I am truly proud of. And I will see you guys in the next video.